Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
Good evening. It is tonight the meeting of the Sustainability Advisory Committee for the town of Exeter. My name is Denise Short, and I'm the chair. And tonight we have Sarah Kopf, Julie Gaunt, Chetna Palmer, yes, and then Kristen Murphy, who's representing the town, and Dan Chartrand from the Select Board. Our agenda for tonight is, I printed out the minutes from last meeting, so we don't want to recall last meeting, do we? So the first order of business is any public comments, and there's no one here in the room. And confirm again, if anybody wanted to comment online, would we be able to see that? Or no?
You would be able to see it on your laptop.
Oh, well, I don't have, the laptop doesn't have that on it. So.
No one's.
Yes, I know, that's true. All right.
Would
Okay.
let us know.
So that's that. And then the first item is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was actually a really great meeting with the Energy Committee for the town, a joint meeting. And so that's the minutes. And do I have a motion and then we discuss, or we discuss?
A
So,
motion and a second.
okay,
Who was at that meeting? Okay, so
Chet and I.
you do have three that can vote. So yeah,
Okay.
a motion and a second, any discussion, and
Okay.
then you call the vote.
So do I have a motion to accept the minutes from the May 15th joint meeting with the Energy Committee?
Yes.
And do I have a second?
Yes.
And any discussion or any edits or adjustments to the minutes? All right. So now I ask for a vote.
All those in favor?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? No, we all said aye. So the minutes have been approved. And now, on to the more substantial part of the meeting, which during that joint meeting with the Energy Committee, we talked about some ideas, plans for moving forward with some plans. So I'm just going to go down, let's see. We'll talk about the styrofoam next, in the next part of the agenda. But, so the first thing that we talked about was talking about a sustainability fair, a combination of Energy and Sustainability Advisory Committee, and talked a lot about the amount of effort that would take and how it fits in with other things in the town. And it seemed that two things that came out of that were maybe working towards expanding the Alewife Festival and including more environmental aspects of it. And that's something we can discuss in further meetings. And then the second thing related to a fair was to check with Town Exeter Arts Music team who has a fall equinox festival, and see if we can put together a joint table of our two committees at that festival and focus on the styrofoam collection and the window dressers. So our main focus would be the styrofoam collection as we were leading that effort, and then the Energy Committee is leading the window dressers effort. But we can work together. So that, I don't know, is there a date for that fall festival?
Yeah, I just looked it up. It's September 20th.
Okay, that is not so far away.
I know.
I hate to say
Fall
that.
comes quickly.
Yes. Like, for some reason, I was thinking October, but September 20th. Okay, so I think for that, we need a couple things, which would be to talk to team, and I might have said I would do that. I did not. So we would have to talk to teams, make sure it's okay for us to do that, and then pretty straightforward, figure out what we would present for the styrofoam part of it, which could be a little bit expanded. Oh, and I forgot to bring back your densified styrofoam from the ALY Festival. I have it at home. It looks like a moon rock. Sort of come up with the specifics of what we need for that date, and then how we can publicize. So does anybody on this committee here, or we could assign somebody who's not here, want to take the lead on any part of that? Like either contacting team or thinking about what is actually going to be at the table, or publicity? Or is that,
Could I ask a question?
yeah.
What's the lead time on actually installing the densifier?
Our goal is to have it done before the end of November.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that quick.
Yeah. But there's a couple things that have to line up to make that possible. First and foremost is the realignment of the transfer station. So there'll be a modification of how things flow through there,
Yep.
and that has to happen first.
So that might actually hold it up.
I hope we're still good within that window, but
Yeah.
How big is it?
I did know the dimensions at one point. I want to say like 20 by 8 or something like that.
It's like a shed.
Yeah, it's like almost like a 2-car garage door width and
Oh,
a little bit extra.
yeah.
Huge. Wow.
Yeah. So the what it comes with is the container box that has 2 garage doors. The densifier unit is on one side, and then the other side is available for storage. So the unit itself isn't that large,
Yeah.
but it's one big container.
So storage for both styrofoam to be processed and then densified stuff.
Yeah, I think our best bet is to store the densified styrofoam outside so that we're not forced to process right away and we have that overflow space for processing. I think for us it'll just be figuring out what our cadence for collection and drop off is to figure out that flow. It does also come with a foam collection bin and one of those big super sacks.
Yep.
So we'll have to see how quickly that fills up.
Yeah.
Can any of us run it, or does someone from the facility, are they one
Yeah.
that pushes the button to do the
There-
work it?
Guilford currently runs it with a combination of volunteers and staff. I think that's kind of a conversation with our insurance people, with the town's insurance.
Yeah.
What'd you call it? Oh, anyway,
No.
it's on the tip of my tongue. The town's insurance provider, and just to see how that
The
all
amnesia's spreading this way.
see how that works. But
It's not
it's
self-service.
not so complicated that volunteers couldn't run it.
Okay, but the idea is the public will not use it, someone from
No,
the town will
correct.
operate it.
Yeah, so the public would be, it would be a drop-off, we just
Okay.
wouldn't have the transport,
Okay.
basically.
Getting into the nitty-gritty details, like how long does it take, let's say the thing is full, in simplifying, push a button, how long does it take to Densify, like, does it run for
Like
like
one
an hour?
of those super sacks?
Yeah. Does it run for like an hour and it's done, or is it like a full day thing,
I
or?
had all of these metrics.
I'm curious, our data
earlier,
person.
And can get to the next one
Had
for
to expel
sure.
it to make room
I
for
needed to
other
make
stuff.
room for all the other good stuff we're doing. No, and so they were processing once a month, and that included, they have like tractor trailers. That was one full day of processing, and it was 2 tractor trailer kind of boxes
Wow.
worth of styrofoam. So,
And that would take them a day.
yeah, it would take them
get
about
through
6
2
to 8
tractor
hours.
trailers.
Yep. And there is some sort of calculation of how much like quantity per minute it processes or something like that. I just don't know.
So I guess figuring out stuff around alerting the public, this is here, this is how you use it, this is where you drop it off.
Right.
And they don't have to do anything else about it, they just need to where to put the stuff.
Right.
And stuff. And
Right.
We need to figure out who's gonna run it and when.
Exactly. And I think
Okay.
for us, it's working the kinks out for our individual town first and understand the process and the workflow and timing, and then, I think that we could better organize the drop-off if we expanded to a community program. Right now, it's, if you want to drop off, we'll take it, and that puts I did hear that it puts a pretty heavy burden on the transfer station operators, and that's just not what we want to do.
Yeah.
I think there will be some effort, which I think we can manage.
So in September, I asked that question because
Yeah.
I was wondering what we were going to be promoting in September. And it sounds like we're going to be promoting continued quarterly collection efforts
Yeah.
for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and
Until we
perhaps awareness of the
That
coming
this is
soon.
coming, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're probably not going to have all the details in September.
I think it would be a good idea to have an outline in terms of with the event being open to people outside of Exeter residents, right? And if others are interested from surrounding towns in wanting to drop off styrofoam, I think it'd be a good idea just to have an outline of, what sort of timeline we would be looking at if once the Densify is in place, of when others from our neighbouring towns can come and do the drop-off. Just to have a rough idea just before, because people will ask those kind of questions, at the event. It'd be
Yeah.
good to have
We could
that.
have like a projected time.
Yeah,
that's
and
not
then
final.
and then have a way in which, once equipment's in place and we have an idea of what to do, to say, okay, well, let's have, if the projection is that for the equipment to be in November, then maybe, with Christmas, and say early January, sort of have a timeline for say, okay, we'll have neighbouring towns from all their Christmas gifts and whatever styrofoam to be dropped off would be quite good. A good point to have that, I think.
Have we set another date for collection?
No, that is on the agenda.
That's on the agenda.
That's the next
We
item.
can skip to that since we're talking about styrofoam right now. Is that too out of order, or should we finish?
No.
Yes. Okay, let's finish.
You could skip.
We can skip down and finish styrofoam. Okay, so does anybody want to reach out to team or Scott, or should I do that? I will do that.
Go for it.
Okay, yes.
The answer is going to be yes. There will be a cost associated with it.
For a table?
Yeah.
Yeah. Won't do it out of the goodness of his heart? Well,
Probably not. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's one of their big
Yeah.
fundraisers.
yep.
But I bet we could get some donations to cover
Oh,
the
yeah.
table cost so that it doesn't chew up budget.
All right, so then if we continue talking about styrofoam, which is actually item 5 on the agenda, schedule. So I don't remember when we had talked about doing another event.
So you're aware, I've had a number of inquiries from the public, which
Yeah.
is exciting and great. I had said we were talking quarterly.
Yep,
We held the last one in April,
yep.
so July-ish is
Okay.
what I've sort of been saying. So I hope it's July-ish.
Yeah, that sounds fine. I mean, I think we can, it might be hard to like get people vacation-wise, but we ought to be able to do it if we pick a date, I think. So maybe we should try and at least tentatively pick a date in July, and then November would be the next one? Is that
October?
May, June, July? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
And all this
October.
would be collecting to take to Guilford.
Yes.
Yeah. So similar to what we've done twice.
Right. So not counting 4th of July weekend, which I'm sure is challenging.
Yeah,
If we're talking Saturdays, there's the 12th, the 19th, or the 26th.
Is the Independence Festival on the 12th?
I think it's on the 12th.
Yes.
So maybe do the 19th.
So the 19th or the 26th would be good. For those who are here, do any of those dates work or not work? Or don't you know, and we should do a doodle?
Under the last weekend of July, but
Possibly the 19th.
I could do the 19th.
I can do the 19th.
I can't do the
No.
9th.
Neither can I.
Okay.
I could do the next one.
Let's,
So we have 3 of us.
yeah. You know,
Reach out to Keith and see if he's available.
I bet I could get some other people from my other sort of side Green Action Exeter gig. I could probably get a couple people to help. Should we say the 19th now, or do we need to get more?
We should probably get permission from
Oh, yes.
DPW.
Yeah. So I think having those 2 dates as an option, I'll start with the 19th.
Okay,
Make sure it works with Public Works and Guilford and Keith, because he's our transport.
Okay.
And that there's a truck available if as a backup plan if we need it.
all right.
And all the rest should be just autopilot, because we've done it twice.
Yeah.
We're experts at this, right?
Yeah,
We are.
Yeah.
that's
And
awesome.
No rain or cold this
Oh,
day,
boy.
please.
Oh, maybe it's going to be
We can only hope.
heat.
Yeah.
We could have,
Be the opposite.
each quarter we'll have a different environmental barrier. Well, it wasn't really a barrier. I saw somebody on, do you know about Seacoast Buy Nothing?
Yeah.
An online thing. Did you see that? Someone posted a picture of a huge pile, I mean, huge, like this big, of styrofoam, and said, does anybody want any styrofoam? If not, I'm just going to throw it away. But I thought maybe somebody, and I was like, don't throw it away. Like, you can take it. They didn't live in Exeter, but I said you could go to Guilford, and I said also in Exeter we do these collections. I don't know when the next one is, but reach out to me. But I thought that was kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
And then I've had a couple just random people ask about when's the next one. So it's cool. It's a successful thing. And I can't believe we're going to get the densifier that fast, hopefully.
I know, we just executed the contract last weekish.
Wow. Awesome.
is there any way we can get the word out to PA with the amount of stuff they get rid of, and especially with, I mean, it's end of school year coming up, and they've got massive skips outside their dorms already, which are full. But also when school term starts,
Yeah.
I think that is another big way in which, if there was awareness amongst the PA through their sustainability person to say, keep your styrofoam and, for them to use.
Yeah.
Because I think the amount of stuff that is thrown out is just, it's incredible.
Let me, I will offer to reach out to the administration at Phillips Exeter and see if there's a way to coordinate some super sacks being available during move-in in September.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, let me just, it may not be something they want to tangle with right now, but I'll put it in their mind. And I have a contact that I can ask.
What about the public schools? Do they use styrofoam trays? No.
I don't know.
I feel like that might be I'm happy to look into that
Great.
and see if we can connect
Yeah.
them.
So the public schools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the elementary schools especially.
Do they use styrofoam?
I don't know,
I know.
but why not ask?
That's true.
It's
Wow.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I've
I know.
dumpster dove the last 2 times I've been at the transfer station pulling clean styrofoam. I've got it stashed on my porch.
Does and maybe this is a question for another time, but how does the styrofoam get reused? Does it get turned into more styrofoam, or is it somehow used for something else?
So the process is it takes this big fluffy styrofoam and heats it up and densifies it
Yep.
in a 99-to-1 ratio, I think it is. And then when it heats it up, it spits it out on one end of the machine into this coil. And then when we get pallets and pallets of coils, we can sell that to an entity to purchase it for reuse. We chose to partner with Soprema, which does that stiff foam board insulation for, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like really rigid. A lot of people put it, well, at least out west, they put it in their garages, on their garage doors. There's panels and but there are other uses for it too. Some organizations use it for floor, baseboards, and molding. So that's another use. Picture frames is another one. But the group we partnered with is foam insulation.
So construction industry.
Yeah.
Reuse.
Yeah. And energy efficiency as well.
So you actually have a contract with them, or
We
a?
have an agreement.
Agreement.
In order to qualify for the grant, we needed to have an agreement with the provider of the densifier unit and a purchaser lined up.
Nice.
We're not committed to go with them, but
Yeah.
we needed to have some sort of commitment or some sort of agreement.
That's cool. That
showing
would be,
there was a market.
yeah. That's also good information to tell people about what happens to it. Where does it go? Okay, so
Can I just go back to the event?
Yes.
The Equinox. Are we sharing a table with Energy Committee?
That's what we talked about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So probably coordinate with them
Yeah.
in terms of
yes.
So I think for their component, they were talking about promoting
Promoting
window
window
dressers
dressers, yeah.
program. And then for your component, it would be the styrofoam, whether it's, densifier or
Yeah.
collection.
so we can share the cost of the table.
yes.
For our densifier, someone at the ALY Festival asked about, will residents need a permit for the transfer station to use it and to access the densifier?
So
It's being worked on, right?
yeah, the logistics of that, we really don't know.
Okay.
We have to figure all of that out.
Yeah.
What's the cost of a permit? $20?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's $20. Which, in my world, that's not that much, but for some people, it might be a lot. It's a good investment. There's a lot out at the transfer station, as Sarah's graphic shows. It's a good value, $20 for a year. I would encourage people to buy a permit just to support the transfer station and what we do out there. But yeah, I don't assume that that's an easy thing for everyone. So,
Any other questions about, in particular, the styrofoam collection events that we will hopefully schedule and the Equinox tables?
I still would love to find a local, like, maybe have your minds thinking about a local business we could partner with for the transport. I feel like there has to be a box truck company who's willing to partner with us on
to
this.
Guilford,
To Guilford, yeah,
them.
rather than renting the vehicle.
because we have two more collections minimum
Right,
that
Any
we'll
of the
have to
removal
transport.
companies do it that we have in town?
yeah, I don't know.
So did we rent a truck last time?
We didn't need to, thankfully. We took him in 2 shifts. We took it up in
Okay.
2 shifts.
Are there moving companies in Exeter? I mean, Bridge Brothers moved, right?
Yeah, they're over on Route 1 now.
But not in Exeter anymore. Yeah.
But maybe.
But if you have thoughts or ideas or connections,
Okay. Does anybody want to reach out to a moving company? And if I don't, I'm asking these questions. If I don't get volunteers or somebody doesn't volunteer, we can follow up with after the meeting and see if someone would be willing to make some calls and find that. So thank you for bringing that up. Because that's a good idea, I think. Yeah. All right, let us go back to item 4 again. So another thing that we talked about with the Energy Committee was legislative and local political action. And Julie, you had talked about this a little bit at the meeting.
Yeah, the New Hampshire Network, is that what they're called? Thank you. They send out, I don't know how many people are on that membership, but I get emails daily from people.
I do too, yeah.
Okay. And I unfortunately can't keep up, not even just with them, just with my own
Yeah.
email. So there's just a lot to cull through, but every so often, knowing that we want to be more collaborative with the Energy Committee, there's a lot of legislation going through that could be of interest for both of our committees. The trick is to stay up to speed because things happen really, really fast, and by the time I get to it, sometimes it's already in the past, or, oh, you need to somehow get yourself to Concord tomorrow to, like, well,
Yes.
can't do that with my current schedule. So it's, I guess, good that there's a lot happening, but it's also daunting because there is so much happening.
Yeah.
So it would be helpful for each of our committees, I think, just to keep an eye out of stuff that's happening that could be relevant, if there's a way for us to just surface it. Like, I was just emailing just you because I don't know anyone on the Energy Committee, just
Right.
share, like, back and forth and stuff.
Would you be willing to be the representative from our committee to the Energy Committee if they identified a person, and even just to have a conversation
Yeah.
about exactly that and say, it's super overwhelming, but what, is there a like focused area that we could pick that is relevant for both, particularly relevant or focused for both committees, and sort of try out, is there a process that is not overwhelming to share information about actions that both committees could take and publicize?
Yeah.
So I think we talked about at the meeting identifying somebody from each committee. So if you're willing to be that person from our committee, I can talk to Amy, who's the chair of the Energy Committee, and see if she can identify someone from there and hook you two up.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Okay.
And the good news is you've got 6 months to put a system together. Yeah. Because they're wrapping up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Who knows where we'll be in 6 months? Okay, so that's the legislative. Anything else related to local political action? I'm just looking through the notes. That's talking about legislative. Any town? I don't know. I can't think of any particular town thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, next item. A committee minute. We were very excited at the meeting about the possibility of having a somewhat regular presence on Exeter TV to highlight some work that we're doing, some issue. I was just thinking about this with the transfer station. I mean, even having like a minute,
This
every
is our
once in a
first
while
minute.
about that. Yeah, exactly.
Each one of those things could be a minute.
Yeah.
You have 20
But I
minutes,
mean, the
sir.
fact that this is now available,
Available.
that's a minute,
Yeah.
right there. Put this on your fridge.
But even about one particular, like you could have something quick for one particular aspect of this, like, or each of these things, like clothing, fabric, shoes, for example, for HelpSee, just saying where these are. Oh, and what do you put in there? And because I go to the transfer station, but I'm sure I don't really know. Like if you asked me to list everything that's out there, it would be hard because I have like the few things that I go for. So how do we move forward with that if we want to try and have, we have to talk with Bob, figure out what makes sense about, or what it would take to actually do that so we can have a process. So maybe we could start with this magnet and
then just keep drilling down.
yeah, exactly. I just love that idea. And the Energy Committee was also into that because it's another way to get the message out about different things that we're doing. And
So I guess you should think about your frequency. The biweekly report comes out every 2 weeks.
Yep.
So are you wanting one in each biweekly report, or is it monthly? And then there's two formats. So there's the biweekly report that has video snippets, and then there's also like the electronic newsletter that that you could use. So which one do you want to be consistent and target one, or are you looking at both, or what
I
is
think
this
it should be
committee
the
looking
video,
for?
and it should be consistent, so that it's at the forefront of everyone, so that people get used to it being there.
Yeah.
And even if the message is repeated every other week or whatever, at least it's there, right? It's happening. So I think it's something that should be definitely scheduled with Bob to say, okay, the Sustainability Committee will have a minute, 2 minutes every slot. Just keep it consistent.
And so the Energy Committee wants to do it as well. So would we alternate every 2 weeks?
That's a great idea.
There's energy, so then that's not as much of a lift
Right.
for all the volunteers. Or so we would have it come up with some good like name for it or tag or how to describe it, that it's both energy and sustainability advisory. And that every 2 weeks you're going to hear something cool that's going on in town and find out about it. So the first thing with that is talk to Bob. And do we agree that focus on the video and talk to the Energy Committee and make sure they're cool with that? But we could go ahead and find out about what it would take to do that logistically for the actual video. Like,
They're great at supporting folks and doing this.
Yeah.
so. They want content.
yeah, that's true.
So the next bi-weekly comes out this Friday. So I would encourage you, whoever's gonna take the lead, coordinate with Bob shortly thereafter to
Okay.
figure out, you know, it
So
sounds
we
like you
could-
have content already, so
Yeah,
you need a catchy name and
I know. Does,
someone willing to-
can everybody please put their creative hats on and think about a name? And I can talk to Bob unless somebody else wants to. All right, I will do that. And target. So if this Friday is the next one, there'll be another one in 2 weeks. So we ought to be able to do that. If we're doing the magnet, I mean, we've got the content, and then we can work out what that means.
So we have, it looks like, let's say 200 magnets left?
100.
100, okay. Sorry. Are those, so we're going to highlight the magnet. Is the idea that people can get one, that we're going to pass them out? You buy them? Are we going to get more so everyone in town can get one?
I think that we should highlight the content of the magnet, not so much get a free magnet, or, I mean, yes, but this part of it is, well, I don't know. I'm
I guess
thinking.
it's cool
Yeah.
to highlight a magnet, but if I don't have a magnet and like for a minute, like, oh, look, all these places I can't unfortunately read what's on the magnet, and you
Yeah.
talk really fast for a minute, like I, in and out, you know, on YouTube you can at least pause the video, but I wonder,
Okay, I have a solution for that.
okay.
Can we take the magnet and get him to put it in the newsletter so that the QR codes
Yeah.
show up? So on the,
Yep.
does the newsletter come out, I should know that, at the same time as the biweekly?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we can find out if that's possible, but then you can refer people to, they'll get the information.
And also, it's on the website.
Yeah, so generally for the e-news, when we highlight programs that our department does, I create a little web page for it, and then he takes snippets from it and inserts it in the newsletter, and then it links you to the web page. So
Cool.
I can take care of getting it on the website as its own page.
Okay.
Then
Yeah.
you can talk with Bob about making content or what the process is for
Right.
making content. And then Energy meets next week, so I can let them know that you want to start kicking
We'll
off
start with the first,
20th of June.
And
All right.
They'd have the following one.
And
So-
we'd have the following June.
so your jobs are to be creative about possible names for that, or something that's vaguely catchy.
To keep it out of the landfill minute.
Yes.
Stealing that from the
sustainable.
magnet.
Well, that's true, except we want something that covers energy as well.
Makes us.
Because I want to I don't want to have, oh, this week it's the energy of the minute. Like, I want to have, it's a combined effort. Like, look at the town, what all these cool things that the town is doing to
Making
save us
Exeter
energy and making it's sustainable. I
Being
mean,
Exeter Sustainable.
sustainable Exeter. I mean, I don't want to like,
Making, because we're not sustainable.
well,
Making
yeah.
it sustainable.
ChatGPT says Eco Vibe Chronicles.
No.
Yep.
Chat GPT. Speaking of environmental impact. Okay, but we can do that. And then, what was the other thing? Oh, is anybody dying to be a host? Or to be on video? I mean, that's something we don't have to talk about tonight necessarily, but, you know, if we're going to do a video minute, somebody will have to talk, and it doesn't need to be us at all. But think about that. And I'm sure Bob has some ideas about, like, how to do that. We could highlight town employees who want to have their moment in the sun.
I was going to say kids. Get kids to read it. They don't mind being on TV.
That's true.
It's a
Great idea, actually.
It's a good idea.
Sustainability, it's not just for adults. In fact, it really isn't. It's up to us. But anyway, okay, that's kind of exciting. I think that will be good. Heavens, it's already 7:45. All right, that takes care of the committee minute. The 250th anniversary of the signing of the, is it the anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence?
Next July.
And so the 250 celebration committee is celebrating that
All year long.
all year long, next year. Okay. So we had talked at the joint meeting about developing some kind of content that highlights the past and what a sustainable future might look like in Exeter, and encourage the public to imagine that. So that's another thing to think about. We don't need to do anything about it necessarily right now. Does anyone know anybody on the celebration committee? Sarah, you do?
I just met with somebody 2 days ago talking about designing a poster for that. It was great to hear what they're coming up with. They're trying to do a lot of this business, working with this organization, working with that, just a lot of crossbreeding to get a lot of people involved. And it seems there's a lot of energy. It seems exciting. And so I suggested talking to you because, and the Concom and the sustainability, because to think about like what this was like 250 years ago, why the river's so important, why, and having it a view, not just of the people history, but I don't know, maybe they would want some sort of natural history guide or something. But,
All right.
it
Well,
seems
that's
like a
good to know,
yeah.
and let's keep talking about that. Wow. Okay. And a new resident welcome letter. Someone was talking about how apparently when you moved to Exeter, people used to get like a welcome wagon kind of thing, and wouldn't it be cool to have information about, Magnet and all the things that we're doing to welcome people into town. Again, I think that's another, it would be good to highlight volunteer opportunities, waste diversion, more. All right, that's a future thing too. And then the last item from that meeting was we would work with the Energy Committee to help with window dressers, outreach, and promotion. So between the two things that we would table, the window dressers is by far like the lion's share of volunteer effort required. So I would like, if we can, to be more involved in that, whether it's asking them what they need and how we can support them in that. And they can support us with the styrofoam collection as well, but because that's a pretty great
The window
thing.
dresses thing is a pretty big lift, right?
It's a very big lift.
It's huge. And I think they were trying to find other organizations to help with it.
Right.
Do they have a date for the next one?
Yes, it is the weekend of Martin Luther King, January
January.
19th. January, I think it's the 15th through the 20th or something.
Okay.
Yep.
It's when they're actually doing the construction.
Is the build, yeah. But just to give you a sense of the time frame, so orders are open now. People don't really think about energy efficiency and cold temperatures this time of year, but if you can help by sharing either through through social media or, just word of mouth that this opportunity exists. People can sign up anytime. Ideally, we'd have, a slug of orders happen in the summer so that measuring can be spread out throughout the year. And then generally in the fall is when they really want to put in the effort for advertising. So help with tabling, help with, mostly tabling or they did a whole bunch of, meeting with the Rotarians and other presenting at churches. Stephanie met with folks in the manufactured housing community. So there's lots of ways to help that you could help get the word out if that's something you want to do. And then even just the roles of measurers, be someone who goes into the house to help measure the windows. And then the construction or the assembly time period, obviously a lot of hands are needed to pull that off, whether it's helping with lunches or being someone who does some of the assembly, which is
it's kind of fun. It's an amazing process.
It is, and it's such a community feel when you're there. It's awesome. So there's lots of ways to get involved from now through.
All right. Only a few other items. So plans for July and August meetings. We sent out the doodle poll, and it looked like most people could attend tonight and in July, and August wasn't as many, but I'm of the opinion if it's all the same, we should meet anyway, and if for some reason we find out, that there's not going to be a quorum, then we can cancel it. But I know, for example, Jim Breeling is out of town, but he'll be back in August, so he'll be there. And does that sound okay? I mean, just come when you can. And other business. Is there anything, Kristen, that you are doing that we haven't talked about that you could use our particular help with at the moment or between now and our next meeting, other than what we've talked about?
Nothing's coming to mind, really.
Okay.
I will have some interns starting up.
Nice.
To help with conservation land monitoring. Maybe there would be a way that they could do some sort of, maybe making poster, I don't know, but maybe you have a mini like a very mini project. It would be great to give them exposure to a bunch of different committees.
All right. Maybe they'd want to do a minute. If we gave them content, or maybe they might have content. How long will you have them?
It's very short. It's a total of 75 hours. So it's a blip.
Yeah.
But probably 15 hours a week, so it gets spread out a little bit.
All right. We'll keep that in mind.
For the minute ideas, do you want like email ideas, or
Sure.
Are we allowed to send email ideas? That doesn't count as like a meeting or anything?
Why don't we create like a Google sheet so that people can add to it, and that way you can see what everyone else has added.
That's a great
And
idea.
help sort of.
Yep.
I could create that if you
That
want.
doesn't violate 91A, right? It's not an email, so
Oh,
you're just contributing to
I mean, no action is
a
taken.
list of ideas,
is being
so that's the
taken.
right way to do that.
a whiteboard.
The problem with email to a group is that you are technically having an unnoticed meeting, but I don't think a Google Sheet does that. So.
Okay, good.
So we can add ideas about minutes and more brainstorming about names. And I will, after I talk to Bob, I'll put information in there about what the process looks like it might be. That's so exciting. I think
it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And if you know of a youth that would be a good presenter, you can put that in there as well.
Yes. Anything else anybody wants to share or discuss? We can finish before 8:00.
Sure can.
So I believe that I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I motion to adjourn this meeting.
A second.
A second.
Any discussion? A show of hands. Frick, I forgot. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
And then you wrap that thing one more time.
All right. Thank you. And if anybody's watching, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.